And welcome back to Who Would Win. Today's Who Would Win comes to us from the Great Gildo and the Texas Chainsaw. Who asked the question, who would win in a fight, the Creeper or the Leprechaun? God, you want to take the battle of attrition. Do either of these guys have a way of killing the other? The Creeper we know is... Okay, the Creeper's not indestructible. We've gone over his history before. It's still not completely known what the Creeper is, though it is believed he is a demon of sorts. The Creeper wakes up 23 years and feeds for 23 days. He feeds on human organs. He has a third nostril to smell for particular organs he likes. Probably also can smell your pheromones for fear. Physically, he is humanoid, but is much more powerful than a regular human. Durability-wise, he can take a lot of damage. It's not that can't be injured, like in the third movie, I believe. When the guy brought out the Gatling gun, the bullets went right through him. He got injured, but it didn't bother him at all. He's been run over by a car multiple times and limped away. Granted, he was definitely heavily injured. He's had his head damaged. He could tear it off and then reattach another head. He's been stabbed through the head. He's been blown up, and he survived it. Granted, he can still take the damage and even still feels pain. It's just that his durability is so insane that he kind of just can shrug it off. Beyond that, obviously, is his healing ability, which comes from eating organs of humans that he likes. And that replaces the body part that's been damaged. Hence, in the second one, where he literally had a damaged head, took off his head, took off the head of the teenager in the car, attached to its body, and it morphed into a new head. The question is, how does that work? Well, the theory is right now that sail, that fin in the back, is the actual Creeper. The Creeper is some sort of parasite of some kind that latches onto a body and morphs it into this form. But it's still not completely confirmed, because in the second one, we stabbed the Creeper in the face, I believe he hit the fin. But I don't know, the webbing? I'm not sure exactly. Maybe he only hit the webbing part of it, not the actual main body part of it. Who's to say entirely? What we do know is, though, he's been around for centuries. Apparently, he was even worshipped as the Aztec god Quetzalcoatl, allegedly. And that he's got a lot of experience that comes with that, including, he knows how to drive, he's very intelligent, and has weaponry of his own, seemingly magical weaponry, including an axe. His truck on its own is a death trap, a literal death trap. He's got that shuriken that seems to move extremely fast and hone in on its target. So he is a dangerous individual, not infallible by a stretch of the mean. You get a strong enough opponent, like I always say, take a character out of their own world, throw them into an out of context world that is used to powerful individuals on a much higher degree, and something like the Creeper becomes kind of like oh, well, this is dangerous, but we'll just blow him up. And I don't mean blow him up as in, oh, we'll just blow it to pieces. Oh, no, we'll just incinerate him down to the core. Again, nukes. I'm not saying anyone would nuke the Creeper. I'm just saying if he got in the epicenter of a nuke, I don't think the Creeper walks out of that, because I don't think there's anything left of the Creeper, period. So far, the only reason the Creeper has ever survived these movies is because he has a part of his body left to survive with. The Leprechaun we know is a leprechaun. He is a malice version of a leprechaun, though. He is obsessed with his gold, will kill anyone who tries to take it from him, and is magical up the wazoo. His level of magic includes growing to giant sizes, surviving being dismembered, possessing someone through their urine and then being birthed out their penis. Algorithm, hey. He is immensely durable. It can be thrown around, be hit multiple times, just get right back up. Strong enough to puncture a hole through a man's stomach. He can teleport. He can change his voice. I don't think he can shape shift, if I remember, but he can just spontaneously summon stuff like a pogo stick. I think he can summon summon random things. He can make things in an instant, like that go-kart of death he made in the first movie. I'm trying to remember everything else the Leprechaun did, magically speaking. because he's done a lot in his history is the thing. He can make people, he can possess people, he can drive people insane or control them without even possessing them. Yeah, the Leprechaun is just very powerful. The Leprechaun, though, is not infallible either. Things like iron, due to Old Fae lore, are a good way to keep him contained. Locking him in a safe, for example, an iron safe, is a good way to just keep him stuck somewhere. A four-leaf clover is an inherent weakness to him. As well, he's not infallible. He can still feel pain, still be hurt, and in theory, anyone with higher degrees of magic or just higher abilities would win a fight. Again, if you nuke him, theoretically, that could work. With the Leprechaun, that's a little bit more nebulous. Or a little bit more, not nebulous, but a little bit more uncertain. So, who would win in a fight? Well, like I said, this is a battle of attrition. These guys can take hits and dish them out. In a scenario where they would meet up, it would be something along the lines of whenever the creeper is awake during the period, obviously, and the Leprechaun's gold's been stolen. Maybe someone leaves some of the gold. They encounter the creeper like they did in I think the fourth one, which apparently was trash. And they leave some gold accidentally in the creeper's area. And so the Leprechaun goes to get back. Oh, excuse me, it's still early today. He runs into the creeper. And they're kind of just staring at each other for a moment. You took me gold, did ya? It's like, The creeper's like, I don't know what you are. And just, he just hits him with like a weapon. And I don't really care. I don't want to, but he can smell too. You're not human. What are you? I don't want to eat. I'm not going to eat you. I'm just going to kill you. And then he's like, he just cuts the Leprechaun up. But the Leprechaun just kind of like, you son of a bitch. You're definitely not human, boy. Those weapons of yours, and maybe because they're magical, they could actually hurt him a bit more. They're not. Those are some special toys you have. Indeed, it's something they're special. And he's like holding his weapon all of a sudden. He just like took it off. He's like, what? I was like, how did he? And he just throws it back. Oh my! I could get used to that. And just like grabs his shuriken and just and the creeper just pulls the axe. And they kind of start going toe to toe, except the Leprechaun starts teleporting around. It's like, oh, Tom Bombadil is a very fellow. That was a nostalgia critic bit. But he's just looking at the creeper. The creeper's going to have a difficult time with the Leprechaun because the Leprechaun has far more ability to avoid him than he does the Leprechaun, due to his ability to just teleport if he wants to. Now, the question would also be, could the creeper have enough knowledge to know what a leprechaun even is? That's a legit question, because we know he's been around for hundreds of years. He was worshipped as an Aztec god, for God's sake. But we don't know how long he really has been around, and what his experiences could have been. My guess is he does not know, at least... he's probably heard of what a leprechaun is, but he's never actually met a leprechaun or encountered one, which is the same thing, I say. So he basically has no experience dealing with a leprechaun. That said, though, the leprechaun will just keep throwing shit at him, and it's going to be completely irrelevant until he can actually take off, even if he takes off his head, unless he destroys that fin in the back, the webbing in the back. He's not going to be able to. He's not going to be able to do anything to put the creeper down. So this becomes a battle of attrition for a while. Eventually, the creeper gets bored of it, grabs one of the lefts out of it, tags the leprechaun again, starts just raking him against the coals, figuratively, not literally. He's raking him against like the wall or the ceiling or something, or the floor. He's just going to town on him, just ripping apart. The leprechaun maybe tries to possess him at one point and realizes that's not going to work because this thing isn't human. This thing's a lot more dangerous than a human and probably stronger-willed. So, at least than the humans I'm used to dealing with. So he realizes possession's not a good idea. Ultimately, it comes down to... excuse me. It comes down to who can figure out the weakness of the other first. And I ultimately feel like it would come down to the leprechaun figuring... It wouldn't even necessarily be figuring out, oh, the webbing is the weakness. Not right there. That thing is the weakness. No, it's more. It is more that he's just throwing everything he can to damage this thing, and ultimately he does hit the webbing, the sail, again, webbing fin. Call it what you will. I call it like webbing in a fin. But the spider-like appendage, the the facehugger-like appendage that's on the back of his head. So ultimately, I do think he would figure it out. Maybe throw the creeper's axe back at him, which then chops his head off and cuts part of that off. And he is screaming in absolute pain. To which the leprechaun would probably take notice at that point, where he thinks, wait a minute, I pretty much cut his head off the first time, didn't do anything, he just reattached the damn thing. Now he's screaming, what's going on? He notices, last time I didn't cut that fin off. So, all right, hold on then. And he just finally grabs his head. Oh, well, look at you. Now, the only catch to this is if the fin somehow latches onto the leprechaun, which would be amusing as hell, maybe it could possess him? Maybe? Like if it just suddenly grabs on, just, they're fighting for control. Honestly, in that fight, I might give that, like in a fight of mental dominance, I would probably still lean with the leprechaun because he has mind-controlled people before with magic, which implies that his will has to be extremely strong as well. I don't think it's strong enough to control the creeper through magic, but I don't think the creeper is able to usurp his will. So, great, but that little mini creeper right there with magical powers would be hilarious and dangerous. But yeah, I think it simply comes down to the leprechaun is eventually, I think, going to figure out that is where his weak point ultimately is. Or this battle literally just goes on until he has to go back to sleep. So that's what happens. Because the creeper, sadly, in this fight, lacks any clear-cut way of putting the leprechaun down. Without knowing his actual weaknesses, he doesn't have a 4-leaf clover on standby. And even though he's got weapons made of metal, there's no way he would know that he needs straight-out iron to hurt the leprechaun severely. Unless there's like an iron poker from a fireplace in the location they're in, there's nothing he's really going to be able to do. So I would go the leprechaun in this fight. But it would be a battle of attrition. And honestly, I could still see arguments for the creeper winning the fight. It just, again, because the leprechaun has only a couple specific weaknesses that the creeper can't exploit in this particular scenario, I would go the leprechaun. This is just my opinion, though. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.